today I want to show you my new hobby I've been doing for a little while, and it's creating beautiful Bonchi plant. Now, what's Bonchi? Bonchi is kind of like bonsai. It's the art of miniaturization, but we call it Bonchi because we're bonsaiing chili plants like this beautiful Thai chili over here. So this is the beginning result, and this is the end result. Here's one. This is actually a Carolina Reaper I did a couple months ago. And the nice thing about it is it grows beautiful miniature leaves. It's gonna flower. I have one in the house I'll show you later that's actually flowering, and it's even gonna give you miniature fruit. But see how it looks with the miniaturization? You got the roots and everything. Makes it look like an old ancient tree, but it's actually a bonsai chili plant. Now also, if you want to make these bigger, usually you do them at the end of the season. This is a new one. I actually grew the plant for about 2 months and I bonsai'd this one. Now here's one that's been growing since, oh, what was the date? Since January 28th. And you can see this one already has fruit. They say that the best time to bonsai them is after they finish fruiting. But I'm doing these as practice runs, because at the end of the year I'm hoping to take all my plants, my Reapers and my Scorpions, and bonsai the whole bunch. The beauty of it, I can keep them going right through the winter as long as I want, and next year I could take them out and plant them in the soil again, and they're going to grow full size again, so that way I can get a nice thicker stalk. So let me go ahead and show you how this is done with this Thai pepper that I'm going to do the process with today. Okay, this is the plant we're going to be doing. Let me show you. This is they call it a Thai dragon. They're a hot pepper. And like I said, I'll still be able to get peppers when it's finished. So the first thing to do is to trim it down. Now don't worry about it. We're going to get rid of most of the vegetation. Usually I cut off about 3/4 of the vegetation. So that's a big plant. We want it about this big. Now if you look at it, it has some nice character. Branches going off on the sides. We want to keep those. But when we cut these, it's going to create new branches. So I cut it down so it can have a little bit of vegetation. We'll cut it down, but then we might cut it down a little more as we go. So don't be afraid. I'm going to take that and throw that in there. And say, oh no. And see all this up here, that's all going to regrow. But that'll be the total height of it afterwards. So this one's probably going to be a little taller than the other ones I've done. And the whole idea is these big leaves take up a lot of energy because we're shocking the plant. Not only am I taking off the branches and the leaves, I'm going to be taking off a lot of the roots as well. So the more leaves I take off, the less juice it's going to need to try to keep on regrowing them. So I'm taking off a lot of them, and I'm trying to cut them as cleanly as I can. And this one here, see, everything's too high, it's way too off, so what I'm going to do is cut it down here, and it's going to grow other branches and buds as it goes up here. So that's going to be a nice offshoot branch. And over here, let's see, I'll cut right over here. And again, I'm going to leave a few leaves. I don't want to take everything off, but I'm taking the big ones off. Whoops. Like I said, a lot of these nodes, you're going to see little branches growing out when it starts growing all over the place. Let's see, how's that over there? I want to get this big leaf off right here. You can see it's starting to look bonsai-ish already. Take all the dead stuff off. I think I'm going to leave it like that. I want to leave a few leaves on it. Now the next step is I want to do the top and the roots at the same time, because if it's going to go through shock, let's get it all over with. So I'm loosening all this dirt so I can get to the roots as much as possible. And what I'm going to do is dump the dirt in here. We can do that without making too much of a mess. Okay, I got a bucket down here, and I just want to be able to get this out of here. And I'm going to be using the dirt for some of my other plants, so I don't want to get rid of all the dirt. But I'm trying not to damage the roots that much. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. And So I'm just going to take this dirt and get rid of that so I don't have that all over the place. There we go. And then I'm just going to kind of work it a little bit. You see, I'm just kind of loosening it. I'm not tearing it. I'm just kind of loosening it up to get as much of the dirt gone as possible. Then I'm going to take it indoors, and under my sprayer in the sink, I'm going to wash it to get through all these so we can get a lot of this dirt out. Because when I put it in the bonsai pot, we're going to be using a whole different kind of dirt that has a lot of rocks and shale and different things, so the water can go through a lot quicker. So you can see how I have this. Now I did 2 others already, and just to show you those, we're going to go in the house and do all 3 of these. Hold on one second, let me get my tray out. Okay. So here's the one I just did, and there's another one I did just a few minutes before we started. These were all very big plants, and this is my favorite one. Look how big that stump is. That's going to be nice and fancy. So these 3, I'm going to take them in. We're going to wash down the roots, and then we're going to begin putting them in the bonsai pots. Pot plants.
In the pots.
In the pot. It's all in the pot. Okay, let's go inside. Okay, here we are in the kitchen. We're going to start by getting the waterworks going. I don't want to make it too awful cold. And we're going to get, this is the last one we did. It's going to make a mess. We're going to get dirt everywhere. So you get the idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this one off, and then I'm going to do the other 2 that we did outside. So I have 3 of them all together. Get all these rocks out and bark. And once I get them all done, we will meet in the green room so I can begin the bonsai, putting them in the pots. See you then. Okay, so now we're in my green room where I'm going to be putting together the bonsai right over here. And let me show you where they're going to be living for the next few months. Right inside here. Matter of fact, here's the ones I just made a little while ago. There's the Carolina Reaper that I showed you outdoors. And there's its protector, my gnome. And here's one I did about the same time as a Reaper, but this is a sweet pepper, I believe a Serrano. See how it's already flowering and everything? So I'll be getting fruit from that probably in another couple weeks. And I let this branch get a little out of control because I want to make sure that there's not too much shock before I trim it again. And here's one I did just a couple days ago. This is pretty much the same as the ones I just did outside, the Thai peppers. And let me go show you the equipment we're going to be using and some of the supplies. So if I come out over here, on this table here, I'm going to be using this bonsai mix. And this is a mixture of all kinds of different soils and organic material, and has all kinds of cool stuff in there. But if you want to look it up online, this is the one I use now. It seems to work pretty well. And you can get different kinds of, these I got at different nurseries. There's a bowl without a bottom. This one here has a bottom like a reservoir to it, and it's connected. This one here, I believe, yes, a separated one, so you could take the top off of the connection. Now if you look inside, see they have little drainage holes. So this one, the water goes into the bottom, and that one there, I'm just going to have it in a plastic tray. And of course, here's the plants we just did, the trimming, and the roots all cleaned up and ready to go. The only other thing I wanted to show you is where I learned how to do this. I went online to an awesome company called Fatali.net. This is their card. And in case you want to learn how to do it, the only place I was able to find a book was this beautiful book right here. Okay, it's the Bonchi Bonsai Chili book. Kind of a tiny book. It has a lot of information, but I think they actually bonsai'd the book itself. So you can actually order that from them online. And again, Fatali.net is the company I learned how to do this from. Okay, now we have everything all set, so let's get started. Like I was telling you earlier, okay, the bowl has holes on the bottom, and that soil will go right through the bowl And we don't want that, so the first thing I do is take some of this mesh netting. It came with it, but the ones that came with was so small that I can't really use them. So I'm going to cut a piece that'll kind of keep the dirt from going through. Let's see if I can get that cut. So that's pretty good width-wise. And I think right about here. Almost, still too long. I'm going to cut out the edges because of the shape of this thing. There we go, and that should fit right in there. So you can see that covered up the holes. Alright, and the next step is to get started with the trimming and putting it all together. So let's see, which one do I want to put in here? I want to put my thick one and that one there, so I'm going to work on this one here first, it looks like. This one seems, I want the ones with this, that's a lot of roots. Now see what I'm doing is, the least amount of roots I can cut, the best. You need to cut. So first thing I do is spread this out to make sure it'll fit in there. Ooh, it has a solid taproot. Now see underneath here, see all these thick roots? If you're going to cut them, you can cut a good portion of the roots, but try not to cut these main ones, okay, as much as possible. So I'm going to cut some of the skinnier stuff away without cutting too much of the main ones. And it's going to make a mess. That's a main one, but it's so thin over here, we're going to let that go. And I'm going to trim some of the edges. You don't want to trim an awful lot. The more you trim, keep in mind, the more shock it's going to have. Now, it doesn't seem to all fit in there, but that's okay because whatever doesn't fit, see, like this is a little bit above the surface, and that's going to make it look kind of like you saw with the other one with the roots sitting above the soil. So the next step, I'll put that here, is to get going with the soil. I'm going to put a little bit in there to get started. Okay. And it's just a process of putting it in and kind of mixing your soil as you go. Let's see, I'm going to get something down here on the bottom so I can sit on it. Now this is the fun part, is keeping it down as you're stuffing it. And I should have gotten a tray or something to put underneath here, but I'm going to go ahead and do that before long. Do I have it? And presto, I have a tray. Isn't that great? And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I want to water this down. We want to make sure this is tight. And I found out before that if I can water it and move things around, as I'm doing it, I probably get too much here. So what I'm going to do is cut off some of this top stuff, because I want to get as much under the soil as possible. Because of course roots above the soil aren't going to help anyway. Whoops. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and having difficulty doing this and filming at the same time, so I'm going to basically pull it out and start it and get it underneath. And once I get all three of them potted, I'm going to show you how they look. Alright, so we'll see you in a moment. And I'm all finished. Wasn't that quick? Here's the end results of the 3 Thai peppers that I did. This was I believe the first one we worked on. Or was it? No, this was the first one we worked on, okay. And you can see how the roots were all on one side, so I let them stay there, brought it up, so as it dries out and as it takes root, the strong roots will continue to grow, the little ones will die off, so it'll make it look like the old root system, like an older tree. And the thing is to get it into the ground, into the soil as quickly as possible, so it's not going to have too much shock. So now it's just growing, and I'm hoping they make it. I have lost one in the process of doing the ones that I've done so far, but only one. And this is the second one we did. And then this is the third one. This is the one with the thickest stalk. I'm really excited about this one. I left it so the roots would be on the top, but you can see they're pretty sturdy in there right now. I mean, this one's maybe a little bit looser because this one had almost like a mushroom type root system. But they're going to grow. This one has a nice thick stalk. They're going to have branches and peppers. Now, I told you earlier I was going to tell you what was in the soil mix, and you thought I was going to leave you out. So let me tell you what is in there for ingredients. They're really weird ingredients, which is why I buy it, because I have no idea how to make it. And for those of you that do bonsai, if you know a good soil mix and how to make it, let me know. But this one here has, let's see, I'll try not to read the Spanish version, okay, because it has Spanish and English. I'll probably get a kick out of it if I did. It has haydite, which is expanded shale, sand pebbles, aged pine bark, and that's pretty much it. I thought, so I've seen some of these that have some really weird stuff, but anyways, 25% expanded shale. And so there's a lot of different kinds, and so basically the purpose of it is they're great for repotting, they hold water, they have good drainage, so a little bit of everything. I'm sure it has all its vitamins and nutrients. Try something for breakfast. No, don't do that. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. This is how I do bonsais from beginning to the end up there where the gnome is. And all I have to say now is remember, if you're not growing, you're not green. Have a great day now. Bye-bye.